Last week, I got to try out a new live vocal mic capsule from Shure. It was their new Nexadyne series. The capsule, I gotta read it because I can never remember this. It's the NXN8, and it was the cardioid version. And I wish it had a more memorable number. Maybe I'll remember it over time. But so far, I can't ever remember that NXN8. So tried out the mic, and one thing I should preface before I get into any of this is I don't really get excited about microphones. I am not chasing after some kind of holy grail, one mic to end all mics kind of thing, which I think some engineers do. And the hype and the hyperbole around a lot of new mics out there, you'd think that it was the second coming. And I just don't feel that way about vocal mics. To me, the thing I'm looking for in a vocal mic is I want a microphone that doesn't exhibit any proximity effect, but it's still directional, so somebody can change their distance from the microphone and it stays tonally consistent. And I want something that stays consistent as you go on and off axis in terms of frequency response, because a lot of times as you get into the sides of the microphone, things can sound a little weird. And, if it could somehow magically remove cymbals from the microphone, well, that would be really cool too. So I think someday, probably in my lifetime, there will be microphones where the proximity effect isn't an issue. I really think it's going to happen with electronic means. I mean, Lewitt has a new microphone out right now that it adjusts internally based on your distance from it. And I think that some microphone manufacturers could take that idea and run with it and do some really cool things. But that's not where we are yet. So when I'm trying a new microphone, I'm just kind of looking to see, do I like it? Does it seem to work on people? And does it give me any benefits that I personally prefer? Because this is all taste. Most vocal mics that are out there these days for live use, they're all generally pretty good. I mean, we're arguing about Coke versus Pepsi in a lot of cases. I know a lot of people get very passionate about these things, but you take your major manufacturers and weigh them against each other, and it's different shades of really good to great. Honestly, in my opinion. Personally, I should mention I'm probably a little biased towards Shure microphones since I'm from Chicago, and Shure, they're based out of the Chicago area. I went to college in Evanston, and for a year or two I commuted, and I used to drive past Shure just about every day on my way to school. So I have sort of a loyalty and affinity to Shure because, they were right there. And when I was playing in bands in Chicago and in the clubs, a lot of the engineers who we really liked working with anyways, they worked for Shure during the day. So going in, keep that in mind. I have a long history using Shure products. I really like them. I'm going to try and be objective about this, but it's all under that kind of banner. The other thing I should mention is Shure has nothing to do with this video. They didn't give us any of these products to test. This was just, the church in town, one of the churches I work with, Decatur City Church, they picked up a Nexadyne capsule and had to test it. So let's jump in. I made some recordings of this. Before I give you my thoughts, I'm just going to play some tests I did. So what I did was I took the microphone, and I'll use this, this is an SM48. I don't know how I came to own an SM48. I didn't even know that this was a mic, but it was in my pile, and it's like practically brand new. aside from the requisite dented grill. Anyways, I just want to use this to kind of show you the position I used when I was testing these, because I tested a variety of positions. So first position you're going to hear is me right on top of it, like right against the grill, like this, talking into the microphone right on axis. Then I sort of tilted it and talked across the top, the kind of ice cream cone thing that I discourage. Then I talked into the side to see what the side coverage was like and what it does to the sound. And finally, I talked into the rear to see what the rejection was like. And the last test I did was I cupped it, to be like the cool guy holding it. Although I did forget to do the cupping test on one of the microphones. So got some recorded samples here of my voice talking into the mics. I'm going to start with the Nexadyne, and I'll just play through all of the clips and you can hear what it sounds like. The only processing that I am putting on these microphones is I have just a high pass filter. Other than that, these clips are all going to be flat. So here's the Nexadyne. All right, so this is a test of the Nexadyne. This is me right on top of it. And then I'm going to start tilting it so that I'm doing the ice cream cone thing. And now I'm talking into the side. So this is the off-axis performance. Here's what happens when you get behind it. This is me talking into the back. And then back into the front, right on the mic. This is the Nexadyne cupped. This is the Nexadyne cupped. So, Nexadyne. I kind of like the way this mic works. I was pretty happy with it. But let's play some other microphones now so that you can hear a little bit of a comparison. I recorded clips of me talking into a Beta 58. Now, this isn't the best comparison because Beta 58 is a supercardioid microphone, so that's going to change some of the pickup pattern for it. And the Nexadyne version that we had was the cardioid version. I looked at the frequency response of the cardioid and the supercardioid version, and on the graph, there was some stuff in the supercardioid version I just wasn't sure I really wanted in the vocal mic, so I said, can we try the cardioid version first when they were ordering the capsule? So that's why we've got the cardioid version. I would like to test the super at some point, but I was happy with the cardioid version. So Beta 58, I'm going to check that. And then I had a KSM9HS, which again, this is another totally different pickup pattern. This is a hypercardioid pattern. It's a very tight microphone, and that has generally been my go-to microphone with most people. The Beta 58, though, for me, I like 58s simply from the standpoint of I can put a 58 or a Beta 58 on anybody and make it work. That has always been the case for me just about for my entire career. And it continues to be the case, when in doubt, I can put a 58 on somebody and do it. Now, I don't know that says anything about the quality of the 58. I know a lot of people kind of bag on the sound of a 58, but I can always make it work. And, I don't even have to list the countless number of artists who that is their microphone when they are performing on stage. Be that as it is, let's listen to some of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Nexadyne version, and then I'm going to play the version of the other microphones right after so you can just compare. So here's the Nexadyne. All right, so this is a test of the Nexadyne. This is me right on top of it. So this is the SM58 right into the 58. This is a KSM9HS right on axis. I'm right on top. So listening to these three clips initially, The thing I like about that Nexadyne is there is still proximity effect, but it is not as big as it is with the 58 and with that KSM9. One of the things I found when I was using the Nexadyne over the weekend was on the vocalist that I tried it on Sunday, I found myself dialing back a lot of processing, especially in the lows and low mids. It just didn't need the same amount of stuff. So I kind of like that. That was one of the things I liked. It didn't need as much work to get it to fit with her voice and to fit in with the rest of the band. So that's a big part of why I saw this as a win. Let's go to the next clip. So this is me talking across the top. Now I'm doing the ice cream cone thing. This is me talking across the top of the 58. This is talking across the top of the KSM9. This is when I look at this kind of performance across the top, I feel like tonally the Nexadyne doesn't shift as much as those other two capsules. And the reason that's important to me is not every vocalist I work with has good microphone technique. There's a lot of vocalists I work with who sometimes they get lazy. And because of how long they've been doing things, they're just at a point in time where, let's just say, they're untrainable in regards to this. It is what it is. And I like that it stays more consistent tonally when you start tilting it, because if I have a vocalist who is maybe a little lazier with their mic technique, which, while it's something I don't want to encourage, it still will make it easier for me as an engineer to kind of manage what's happening in that regard. Moving on to the next clip, I'll go into the side of the mic. And now I'm talking into the side, so this is the off-axis performance. And then this is me talking into the side of it. This is into the side of the KSM9, into the side. So now we're getting very different as we're getting into kind of the side response. With this KSM9, there's still a lot of lower frequency content in there. It's taking off the high frequency stuff. We're losing that, which is good because it's going to reduce cymbal bleed and things like that. The 58, it's okay, but tonally, again, there's still a lot of that low mid sort of stuff. The Nexadyne, to me, though, feels like it kind of maintains a little more of the frequency response as I'm going off axis. I kind of like that a little bit. To me, I just feel like that's going to translate to a smoother microphone performance, and so that the off-axis stuff coming in is a little smoother. One of the downsides that I usually find with dynamic microphones is as you go off-axis, the stuff that bleeds into the microphone, a lot of times it can get kind of nasty, and I feel like with the Nexadyne, I might not have that issue quite as much. If we go into the back of the microphone, here's what happens when you get behind it. This is me talking into the back, and then this is me talking into the back of it. This is the back of the KSM9HS talking into the back. Now, with the back of the mic pickup, this isn't even a fair comparison. The Nexadyne, to me, is performing the best, and that's because it is a cardioid pattern microphone. The 58 is a supercardioid. The KSM9 I'm using was a hypercardioid. As we get into those tighter patterns, one of the side effects of that pattern control is we pick up a little bit more sound directly behind the microphone. So in this case, I'm not really surprised that I'm hearing less of things in that Nexadyne. This is not a knock on the Beta 58 or the KSM9HS at all. This is just sort of the way that those microphone polar patterns work, and it's to be expected. Now, that pickup behind him, it's pretty narrow, but it is definitely there. These days, where that kind of stuff would concern me is more if I'm in a situation where there is a really loud audience, like think boy band and lots of, screaming 12 and 14-year-old girls, loud audience. If we're in a situation where there are really loud floor monitors, the placement of those monitors would probably be dependent on the pickup pattern of the microphone. But for me, the stages I'm on these days, they tend to be silent stages for the most part, aside from a drum kit, which is behind the vocalist. Audiences, I'm working mostly in churches these days, and it's not really that big of an issue. A few weeks ago, I did a night of worship with a lot of high school kids, and they were definitely louder than a Sunday morning crowd, but it wasn't problematic at all what was coming into the microphone. So performance in the back, it's just here as an example, but I wouldn't necessarily go by it. Now, unfortunately, I forgot to record a test with me cupping the microphone. So all I have is the Nexadyne and the Beta 58. This is the Nexadyne cupped. This is the Nexadyne cupped. I'm cupping that now. This is the 58 cupped. So in this case, I feel like the Beta 58 performs a whole lot better when you cup it. It sounds better to me anyways. Let me play these again. This is the Nexadyne cupped. This is the Nexadyne cupped. I'm cupping that now. This is the 58 cupped. The Beta 58 is changing its response for sure, but the tonal quality of my voice in it, I feel like it holds up a lot better in the 58. When you cup that Nexadyne, it gets really mid-rangey, and I don't care for that Nexadyne cupped at all. So that's something to think about if you're dealing with singers who like to do that a lot. I don't think the Nexadyne would be the microphone to try in that case. So final thoughts on the Nexadyne. I really liked it. I'm not sure at this point if it is going to replace a 58 as my go-to microphone. In some ways, maybe that's kind of what I'm searching for. Maybe it will, but I'm not sure. I do feel like I just have something that is a little closer to a neutral response with that Nexadyne, especially when I'm comparing it to the Beta 58 and the KSM9 HS. I prefer the proximity effect in the Nexadyne. It just doesn't feel like it needs as much work. As I mentioned, on Sunday, I was dialing processing back. And whenever I can dial processing on a vocal back, I just always feel like it is a bigger win for everything. Everything sounds better. So that's just my thoughts on the Nexadyne. I'd love to hear what you think. Leave a comment below if you have tried out any of the Nexadyne mics, especially if you've tried the different versions, the super cardioid or cardioid. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment below. If there are other vocal mics that you use in a live situation that you really like, that you think I should check out, please put them in the comments below. I might have already tried them, but you never know. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.